Oh my gosh. Can I just tell you guys the most hilarious thing? This is so random. But the other day, I had Ashby in the bathtub and I was folding laundry in my bedroom. And I had, my bedroom door open and the bathroom door open so I could still hear him and talk to him and everything. And I heard him start coughing. And I was like, "Are you okay, buddy?" And he goes, "Yep, 1 second, just choking." I was like,
Is that
"Okay."
all?
So I walk in there. I was like, "You okay?" He's like, "I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just choking."
No big deal.
It's what I do.
Did he recently learn the word dead or die? Because I feel like every polo he's like, "I'm dead. I'm
He
gonna die."
thinks it's hilarious. And I think it's because, okay, we've been learning about volcanoes and
Yeah.
the 4 different kinds of volcanoes. And so you could be active, you could be intermittent, you could be dormant, or you could be extinct. And so you do different hand motions for each one. And on the extinct one, you like fall on the floor like you're dead. And so ever since that explanation, he thinks it's hilarious to like fall on the floor or fall on the table and say he's dead. Like, that is not the lesson I was trying to teach, but okay.
Dramatic. You got to get him into acting.
Yeah.
Oh, so funny. Okay. All right. We're good?
Yeah.
We're good.
All righty. Welcome to Love on the Pod, a podcast about all the cheesy romantic TV movies we adore. I'm Jessica.
I'm Sherry.
And I'm Danny.
And today we are discussing Rip in Time, which is a Hallmark Movies and Mysteries film. That channel is now called just Hallmark Mystery, but when this movie came out, it was still Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. But now they've decided it's not movies and mysteries. It's just mysteries. That's all they do.
True. Who was responsible for naming that?
I don't know.
Movies and mystery. That's very redundant. I never even considered that, but it really is.
Yeah. It could have been Hallmark Mystery Movies.
Yeah, there you go.
True.
Well, we need Jonathan to workshop. I don't know.
Maybe he did.
Because now they do.
The problem's been solved.
That's true.
They do mystery series now as well, right?
Yeah.
Like that one, the mistletoe mysteries they came out with. So it's just mysteries, all kinds of mysterious things.
Mysterious
it's a mystery
things.
Who named it, really.
Yes. And we also know that this channel, unfortunately, kind of gets the short end of the stick when it comes to holidays. Any holiday movie that premieres on this channel does not get the views that a movie that comes out on Hallmark does. So, this holiday season, give them a watch.
I will say that a lot of the time, the movies that come out on that channel during the holidays are the ones that hit a little bit more of a serious note. And the ones on the regular Hallmark channel are the more of the like happy, fun, magical Christmas spirit movies. But a lot of the time, these ones that come out on Hallmark Mysteries they are really heartfelt and will make you cry. So if you're in the mood for something that's less on the magical Santa Claus side and more on the very sentimental, true meaning of Christmas side, that I highly recommend. A lot of my favorites come from that channel, but it doesn't get, as much of the hype as the other ones do.
And what was it called when Hallmark movies would air on network TV? It's a Hallmark
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. That's right. Do they do those anymore at all? Or should I? I'll check into that because we're going to talk about some Hallmark history next couple weeks down the line.
2019, I think we read, was the last Hall of Fame movie.
One.
Oh, right. Okay.
And the first Hall of Fame movie was an opera. Okay.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
I would have turned that off.
I forget which one. I mean, it was in like the 50s. It was very old.
Oh.
But they used to do they did like Shakespeare movies. I'm pretty sure they did Hamlet and they did a few others. It took a while to evolve into what it is today. It's very interesting. Harvey was one of them. I think it was a remake of the original.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to do some more research if I'm going to talk about Hallmark history.
Yeah, I know. So Hall of Fame is very interesting. I would really love to talk to somebody on the pod about somebody who's in charge of like their programming. Somebody like that. I think that would be interesting.
It would be, yeah.
So, anyways, okay.
Harvey. Yeah. I was just going to say Harvey. I wonder who played the lead because I love the Jimmy Stewart Harvey.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies.
I don't think I've seen that one as an adult. I couldn't even tell you what it's about.
It's a weird
an imaginary. It's weird. He has an imaginary rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
but 1996 is when they remade it. And Harvey, please hold. Harvey was played by Harry Anderson.
I do remember when that came out. Harry Anderson, he was in a TV series, Night Court, I think, is what it was called.
Oh, yeah, Night Court was really popular. I've never seen it, but I know it did well.
He was in Cheers.
Oh.
He played Harry the Hat.
I don't remember that one.
I'm so familiar with that.
Harry the Hat.
But yes, Night Court, he played Judge Harry T. Stone. He really likes to just be called Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not to be confused with Sean the Shoe. Okay, let's talk about this movie.
So let's do a little synopsis of this film. So Sarah is an organic farmer who meets a man claiming to be from 1787. She quickly discovers old-fashioned feelings that can be just as crazy as his story. The release date for this movie was May 22nd, 2022. And like I already said, it was on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. It stars Niall Mater, even though his last name looks like Matter, but it's not. It's Mater, like the truck.
I've been saying it wrong for my whole life.
I know.
Because it's double T's, isn't it?
It's double T's, yes, but it's Mater.
Okay.
You know, those like Canadian names.
Tomato.
Yes. Tomato. So Niall Mater and Torrey DeVitto. We decided it was DeVitto, right? Not DeVitto.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So both confusing pronunciations, but we got it right because she has double T's. So it seems like it should be DeVitto, but it's not DeVitto.
Right? DeVitto.
Yeah.
DeVitto.
And as I was watching, as I was watching Danielle, I was thinking your hair would look so cute like hers is. A little shorter with some highlights. Super cute.
I think I've had it like that before.
I think you have, yeah.
Or I go through phases. Similar. It gets really, really long and then I chop it all off. And I get mad at myself and I grow it really long again and then chop it all off. Yeah. I'm in the in-between phase right now where I'm mad at myself that I chopped it all off.
Okay. I never get that far. I get to where I am now, and then it's like, I gotta get it cut. I can't stand it.
Yeah. I don't know. My hair's the longest it's ever been, I think. But
yeah, it's so long.
I like it long, but I also like long hair is annoying because you have to, if you don't style it every day, it looks bad. It looks terrible.
I feel like that's true of any haircut, though, because I always have that mindset when I go in and get it chopped. I'm like, oh, so long. I can't do my hair every day. I need to go get it chopped off. And then I get it chopped off, and I'm like, okay, well, now I have to do my hair every day, and I can't even ponytail it. So
yeah, that's true.
Sucks.
That's true. Yeah. And a top knot is not like cute anymore. So
no, it all sticks everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, so this movie was directed by Jessica Harmon, who also directed Tip Line Mysteries, Dial 1 for Murder.
Oh, we liked that one.
We sure did. She also directed The Angel Tree, which I've mentioned before. I don't think you guys have seen it.
I have not.
And Game Set Love, along with a ton of other Hallmark movies. And then the writer was C.J. Cox, who also wrote New in Town and Sweet Home Alabama.
Oh, really? Two clear winners.
Yeah.
I love those.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So he is credited as the writer along with one other person for New in Town, and then he's credited as the screenplay writer for Sweet Home Alabama. Okay. So, yeah. Filming location was in Victoria, BC, but also in New York, which is very uncommon.
Oh.
Yes.
What do you know?
So the scenes that were based in the big city were actually filmed in the big city.
So that wasn't a green screen of Times Square.
No, it was not a green screen. It was the real place.
Nice. Way to go, Hallmark.
Yes. Okay, so before we get into a recap, I would love to hear your guys' initial thoughts on this flick.
Well, you guys know I love anything with magic in it. And I love a good historical fiction kind of deal, whether it's a movie or a show or a book. So I really enjoyed this movie. I really did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I really like this movie. I wasn't sure because I was going to watch the wrong movie because we had it on our list. And then Danny thankfully told me which one was the right movie for this week. And yeah, I sat down to watch it and I thought it was really cute because it can go really wrong. You know, when you have that kind of time travel scenario and somebody comes back and they're very childlike because they don't know the modern ways, it can go all kinds of wrong. Not Frosty. So I really enjoyed this one. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, anytime we have a time travel or a person, you know, a toy or an inanimate object coming to life kind of idea where they're in this world that they don't really belong in, I find myself comparing it between Hot Frosty and Nutty Christmas. I'm like, which way is it going to go? Are they going to do this well or are they going to screw it up?
Yeah.
Hot Frosty was not, well, I think all of our listeners know that Hot Frosty was not my favorite ever. I'll never watch it again. It was trash. But this one, I think they did it pretty well. There were a few moments where I was like, okay, that's a little much.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I thought they did a really good job. And Niall Mater was fantastic in this role. I adore him. And so I was excited to watch a movie with him in it anyway. And I thought he just killed it. It was good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I liked that.
Oh, go ahead.
I liked that he strayed a little more away from like the childlike innocence and was more like just confused about what the heck was going on.
Yeah.
Which I really liked.
The whole movie, he kept his I want to say accent, but it wasn't really an accent. It was just like the way that he spoke. It was very old-timey, and he kept that throughout the whole movie. Whereas a lot of the time when we see these movies, it's like, okay, by the end of the movie, they're fully assimilated to modern culture. And how long has it been? Like a week? This is crazy. But he really, even all the way up to the end of the movie, he still talked like he came from this time. Yeah. And I really liked that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Me too.
Yep. Mom, what were you saying about Dad?
Oh, I was going to say he came in at one point early on in the movie and he's like, what is with that bad beard and wig? Because, you know, they don't put a whole lot of money into that because it's just a very small part of the movie. He doesn't have to wear it the whole time. But I just thought it was funny.
Oh my gosh, don't show him some of the female wigs then, because
No
this was
kidding.
better. This was better than a lot of other wigs we've seen.
This wasn't that bad. Yeah.
Yes.
I think the hat helps. The hat covers up a lot.
True. Yeah.
For sure.
So anyways, yeah, this movie I watched on a whim and then I was like, oh, I want to talk about this one. So then I watched it again and here we are.
When did it come out again?
22.
Is it older one? Oh, so not really old.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, 3 years now.
I know, right?
Good grief.
In Hallmark world, they've already made 200 movies between then and now.
No kidding.
Okay, so let's get into the recap here. So we open on a farm where Sarah Majors, her father Calvin, and her son Henry are working. They are pulling some kind of weed. I forget what kind of weed. Pigweed, I think. It was pigweed. And she's hollering at her son to make sure he gets it up by the root. And he's like, yes,
Which
Mom,
was so
I
funny.
know.
Because his name is Henry, and which got our dog's attention, of course. She's yelling, Henry, Henry. And our dog's looking all over the place. What? I'm right here.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I really liked that opening scene. It just was like reflective of real life. Of you like yelling across a field to your kid of like, are you doing it right? I just want to make sure.
Don't waste my time. I don't want to have to go back and redo it when you're done.
Exactly.
Yep, absolutely. So Sarah asks Henry, her son, to go and check on the barn, and he returns to her, and it's like evening at this point, and he informs her that, hey, there's a guy out there eating turnips and
raw turnips.
Yeah. So maybe we should do something about that. And so she's shocked, obviously, that there's somebody squatting in their barn. And she goes and gets a gun and then gets her dad, or tries to call for her dad, and he doesn't hear her. So Sarah goes into the barn with Henry. She finds this man in there. She's got a gun. She points it at him and she's like, don't come any closer. And then she sends her son off to go get her father. And he finally comes out, and they, figure out that this guy he's not really here to hurt us. He's just eating our food. And
he's not dangerous. Fine. He's just confused.
Yeah.
And she thinks he's probably some kind of veteran with like PTSD or some kind of mental issue going on, some kind of confusion, and really like takes pity on him and wants to help him, which I really liked that approach. It wasn't just like, okay, we're going to just forget about the fact that this crazy man showed up in your barn. There's an actual explanation of what she believed had happened.
Yeah. Yes.
And I liked that.
Yeah, because her dad was like, oh, yeah, the neighbors, they had a son that was about his age and he was in the military. Maybe this is him. And he's confused about where he is, right?
Yeah. And Rip is confused about Sarah's appearance because in his time, women were in to the floor dresses. And he looks at her in her jeans and he's like, you're a spinster that's been forced to work the land. That was so funny.
He was like, I'm sorry, you were wearing pants. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
There was a lot
shows how much we've evolved.
Yes, there was a lot of comedy in this movie that I really appreciated. It was funny. So so he tells them that his name is Rip. He can't remember a last name. He really can't remember much else. But he is wearing clothes that appear to be from the 1700s. So that's a little weird. But whatever.
But they do say that they think he might be like involved in reenactment, like war reenactment.
Right.
So maybe that's where the costume came from.
Right.
Oh, he like Sweet Home Alabama.
Like Sweet Home Alabama.
Yes. Oh, now I want to watch that movie. So they do decide that they need to call the police. So police officer Ted, that's how he's credited. He has no last name in the credits. So
and they don't even say, let's call the police. They're like, let's just call Ted.
Yeah.
Like he's the only cop in town.
Yeah. So they call Ted. Yes. He clearly has a huge crush on Sarah. He comes to get Rip to take him to the station, and he puts him in the back of his squad car, which Rip calls a strange carriage. And he just leaves him in there. They think he probably has a concussion or something. He leaves him in there so he can
medical attention.
Yeah. So he can ask Sarah out on a date. And she's like, what? And then her dad is like, you're leaving somebody with a head injury in your squad car so you can plan a date? What's wrong with you?
Get on my daughter. Yeah.
I just love the part where Rip was like, where are the horses? This strange carriage. And he's like, got 280 of them right under here. Rip just looks at him like,
small.
What are you talking about? Like,
tiny.
Like he's the crazy one.
Tiny horses inside of
How do they fit?
So Ted takes Rip to the station, and I'm not really sure what he's planning to do. Just get him away from the family, I think, is the main goal here, because he doesn't get him any medical attention. And Rip the next day escapes from the station, but really he's free to go, right? He's not like telling he was under arrest. They weren't pressing charges.
He did take him to the hospital.
Oh, did he?
Because he took him to the station, got him fingerprinted just to make sure he wasn't like a criminal.
Oh,
and then he took him to the hospital where they did an overnight observation, and in the morning he just left the hospital. He didn't.
Okay.
He didn't get
because
checked out or anything.
He talks about, and this is so true, how she asked him if he gets any rest, and he's like, "Well, they tell you to get some rest, but then they come up every 2 hours and wake you up to make sure you're okay."
Oh, it's
Are you
so
getting
true.
sleep? Okay, like after you have a baby. Okay, I'm just gonna push on your belly. Really?
Oh my gosh!
Do you need to
I literally
contract
just
my
got the
uterus
baby
right
to
now?
sleep, and they're gonna
Uh-huh.
come in here and turn on the light and be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
hey, just me, just checking on." Okay, go away.
Yeah.
Let me sleep.
You know
Do you know
what?
that women have done this for millions of years
Yeah,
without anyone pushing on their belly?
absolutely. The other day, I had a reel popped up, and they were interviewing a pediatric, or not a pediatric, an obstetric nurse, and they asked her. Of course, I'm sure she has a social media presence or something. I'm sure that's why they had her on. But they were like, "So, how easy would it be to switch a baby?" And she's like, "As a nurse, very easy." And
Oh yeah.
it's so scary to hear her say that. She's like, yeah, if you wanted to do that, and it would be very easy, because parents literally just hand you their baby and trust that you're going to do what's right, and you don't have to if you're a bad person. Ugh.
Oh, your dad went everywhere with the nurses. He's like, "I'll come with you."
Yeah.
My baby is not leaving my sight. So if you need to do anything, it will be right here in this room. Thank you very much. Or I will be coming with you.
Yeah. I will not be using the nursery. Thank you very much.
No.
It's not happening.
I don't think those even exist anymore, do they?
I think they do for like trauma cases, but I think most people don't use them anymore. But if like mom has had, cesarean trauma or something like that, they might need it.
Yeah.
But I think most, I don't know, but most people I know have not used the nursery. It's scary. No thanks. I don't need to give my baby to a stranger. I've listened to enough true crime to know most nurses are good, but not all are good. Okay, so Rip has escaped from the hospital. He's, done an AMA and left. And he returns to the farm. And Sarah and her family decide to allow him to stay at the farm, even though Ted has a huge, massive problem with it. He does not like this idea. He thinks that this guy is probably a weirdo, that he's using them.
He probably should be concerned.
Yes. Yeah. He is a little bit of a dick about it, but
yeah, that's
he
true.
is. Yeah. I mean, he tried to eat a lollipop with the wrapper on, so he's a little confused.
You give these to children?
Yes. So they take Rip to get a haircut and a shave, and he's terrified of the clippers, and the barber gets a good kick out of it because he's like, oh, usually only children are afraid of the clippers. And then he's confused by the sucker that he gets at the end of the appointment, and he tries to eat it with the wrapper on. And then he just like rips the wrapper off, and it breaks it everywhere, and it's sticky, and he still eats it, and she's looking at him like, what are you doing?
And she played that part so well. It's like crumbling onto the ground. She's like, okay, what is wrong with this guy?
She has a kid. She's been through it before.
Right. Like much like you would do if your 3-year-old was having that behavior. It's just like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing today.
Yeah.
So as we move through the movie, Rip starts to recover some of his memory, and we find out that he reveals that he fought in the Civil War. They're talking about his military service. They assume, I'm sure, that it was recent military service, and he's like, no, I fought in Delaware. And they're like, what do you mean? Who fought in Delaware recently? And he's
Nobody
like, no.
fights in Delaware. No one does anything in Delaware.
Yeah. But it was the Civil War that he was fighting in. And he is shocked when he's told that, no, it's 2022. And he passes out because of that. And it's a little weird that he didn't figure out that there was something wrong with the time for this whole period.
When he went to the barbershop and like saw a town and all these people.
And these cars, and he's not putting anything together. Like
the hospital with all the technology.
Yeah. So somebody finally says it's 2022 and he's out, down for the count. So yeah.
And besides the fact that at this point, when he finds that out, he's in his childhood home.
Yeah.
The farmhand's cabin on the property is the home that he grew up in as a child. So it's like, there's your first clue. Yeah. Doesn't look like it did when you were a kid, does it?
Yeah.
And she was apologizing for the look of this little cabin. And I thought, this is the cutest little stone cottage. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I loved it.
Well, yeah, because he's saying, "Oh, everything is new," and she's like, "No, it's nothing.
Not.
Nothing.
There's
in here
antiques
is
everywhere.
Nothing in here is new." So we also discovered that Rip's father is actually none other than Rip Van Winkle from the Washington Irving story, and we find out that the story was in fact true, the Rip Van Winkle story, and that Washington Irving just heard him telling it at a bar. And ripped it off and wrote it as a book and made himself some money off of this guy. And so that tells us a little bit of how it might be possible that Rip Jr. has time traveled to the future by following in his father's footsteps. And he had a very strained relationship with his father because he thought he was a lunatic and a drunk who would disappear for years at a time. And now he's starting to figure out that maybe that's not the case. And the story he was telling might actually be true.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had heard the name Rip Van Winkle. I had no idea who he was or what the story was. So at this point in the movie, I paused it and had to Google the story and read like a summary of the story. And I was like, oh, okay. I never knew the story.
He sleeps for like 100 years, right? Isn't that what it is?
A long time, yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
And I remember reading a book because his beard kept growing while he was sleeping. So when he woke up, his beard was like dozens of
like
feet
Rapunzel.
long. Yeah. Yep. So this story is admittedly a little different from that. It's a little bit of a departure, right? Because it involves going into a cave and during an electrical storm and basically getting like shocked into the future. But it's,
kind of
similar.
like Back to the Future.
Yes.
He needs that lightning strike to send him on his way.
Absolutely. So Rip helps out on the farm and he's amazed by all the modern technology, all of the new things that they're using to make farm life easier, but he has a lot of old ways that are helpful as well. And he also agrees to teach Henry, the son, to fight because Henry's dealing with some jerky little kids who are mean to him. But I loved this part because he was explaining to him that, yes, I'll teach you how to defend yourself, but it's not, fighting is not good. Fighting should not be your number one choice. It should be used only if it's 100% necessary and you've tried everything else.
Right. And you should be able to defend yourself, but probably not instigate a physical altercation.
Yeah. Yep. And I loved this because it could have been an opportunity for an argument between Sarah and Rip where, you taught him how to fight and then he beat some kid up at school and, and one of those miscommunication things, but it wasn't. And I liked that. That he, even though he was a soldier and he had been through battle, he was like, I know that this is not the answer all the time. And there was another time where maybe it was in the barbershop when he's talking to the self-proclaimed town historian. And he's talking about how he's a Civil War buff. Wayland. And he's like, you're telling me you enjoyed that time? That time was terrible. And he's just appalled.
Yeah, because he was all excited about the reenactments and the history behind it, and Rip wasn't having it.
Yeah, really, reenacting wars is a bizarre. It's a bizarre thing to do. I think
it is for the entertainment of tourists. Come on over and watch us shoot each other dead. It is kind of bizarre.
I think maybe because it's a war that was so long ago, people are able to detach a little bit more. But it's not like people would be like, oh, let's reenact the war in Iraq. Like, it's just, it's weird.
But maybe in 100 years they will. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. It's
mean, it is an interesting way to like get a little bit of history.
Yes.
But how realistic can these reenactments be? Because these wars were, especially like, I mean, any war is brutal, but like they were shooting each other with like these giant musket ball things. I don't know, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Like the weapons that they used were, ugh. It had to be just, I mean, I suppose it doesn't even matter what kind of weapon you use. It's probably horrible regardless. But I mean, to reenact that, it's going to be the PG version.
Yes.
It's not going to be what war really was like.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So it's, I guess I've never really thought about it as like, that's an interesting activity to participate in.
Yeah. But, come on, kids.
You know, anyways, so, and I guess Rip does call him out on it, and he's like, it's not funny. It's not like, that was a terrible time. This is not something that you should be like, you know, excited
celebrating
to celebrate for sure. So, during these couple of scenes, we also have a montage or a sequence. It's not a montage. It's a sequence because there's no music. So I wouldn't consider it a montage in New York. Sarah goes to the city and she's a little afraid to take him because he's seen it before, but obviously it was like 200 years ago. And so it looks very different. And she's like, I don't want you to be shocked. And then he indeed is quite shocked when they go to the city and it looks completely different. And they go to Times Square and they go to the Edge and they go to all these different things that floor him. And I can imagine that would be wild if you were not familiar with that at all.
Right. Go from zero technology to Times Square, where you're surrounded by screens on the side of every building.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're used to lighting up your home at night by candlelight. And now here's these giant screens and neon lights. And it's crazy. And at this point, he's still confused by the role of women in this modern time, but he is impressed by the evolution of it. And she was saying that how women can do anything that men can do. And he said something like, as ably as any man with just the right amount of feminine touch or feminine something. And I thought that was really cute that you're starting to see these sweet interactions between the two of them.
Yeah, that there's not that pushback from him of like, well, that's stupid. Women can't do that. You know, it's I don't know. His character is just super likable. I really...
Yeah. Very likable.
Yeah. So now we're going to go back to town, back to the farm. And Ted is going to show up because why not? And he shows up at the farmhand house where Rip is staying. And he decides to pull a Star is Born situation on him and tell him that he needs to get out because he's embarrassing Sarah and her family. And Ted is in love with her, even though she clearly is not interested in him. And that he's going to give her things that Rip never could. And
like what? A pain in the neck?
Yeah.
So, Ted was annoying before, and now I hate him. So
exactly. That's the point
do
where I was
Rip
like,
like
okay,
that.
Yeah,
Ted's got to go.
Yeah,
but didn't he see the doctor in New York, the specialist who hypnotized him?
Yes, he did. Yes, that was the whole reason they went, right?
Yeah, and then they actually did a surgery because he had something in his leg. And come to find out, it's this Civil War musket pellet. And they're like, "Where'd you get that?"
Out of this guy's leg?
What? I was shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting. I also thought it was interesting that this guy in the hospital, this random guy, probably a doctor, knew exactly what this musket ball was. He's like, oh yeah, it's from blah, blah, blah year. It was last used during the Civil War. I'm like, okay. You have
There's all kinds of history buffs in this film.
Yeah. And he's like, they take their reenactments really seriously.
Yeah, they shoot each other for real.
Well, and then after that, they do end up seeing a doctor or some kind of a researcher that does believe him and does really truly believe that he traveled through time.
Yeah.
And this
Yes.
is when Sarah is like, huh, maybe there is something to this.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
He
he
gives
has
his
a
whole
whole
description.
speech. Yeah, a whole
Yeah.
speech, a
How-
whole like formula, and he uses paper to show him like, look, you traveled through time.
Yeah, how it
Yes.
could be possible. Yeah.
So, so after they've returned to New York, we've got Ted being a hole, and and Rip listens.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Rip listens, and he's like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to leave. So during this time, we find out a huge electrical storm is coming, the biggest storm that has ever existed in decades.
Isn't that convenient?
Yes. And Rip is going to go away during that storm. They literally need to batten down the hatches to prepare. So she yells at Henry to go in nicely, not like meanly yelling, but tells him to go batten down the chicken coops and make sure everything's secured. And then her father, Calvin, discovers a letter from Rip saying that he's leaving because he's causing problems, he's causing unrest, and he doesn't.
Yes, he's embarrassing their family name.
And he can't.
Can we jump back for a second before this, though? Because they had
Yes.
gone to this community event, and Rip and Sarah are really connecting, and they dance, and it's so sweet. And she shares with him the story of her mom and why she's so passionate about organic gardening. Her mom has suffered from the effects of Alzheimer's, and so it's really important to her to bring to the community whole foods and things without chemicals and everything. And I thought that was something really a good detail to add to the story, so you know why she's passionate about this farm. It's not the typical story of I'm trying to save the farm because it's been in the family for so many years. No, I really want this farm because this is what it means to me. So yeah, I thought that was
It
good.
made
And
me
then
want to be a farmer.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but then you also see Waylon, the history buff, talking to Calvin and really writing him about how you've got this crazy man living with you and your family's becoming the laughing stock. And that's kind of the catalyst also for Rip wanting to remove himself from the situation so that the family's.
But I loved how Rip handed it to him in that moment when because he had a booth and he was selling, antique wares, and Rip is watching him and he's like, that's not what that's for. That's not what that is.
He's got this elaborate story
in front of everybody. Yeah. He's like, you're a fraud. You're selling things and he explains like what these things are actually for, and it actually makes sense. And he just leaves like a little coward, with his tail between his legs,
like bullies do.
That.
When you're called out like that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The last one, he was like, this is a child's toy. Not farming equipment.
And it's broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So Rip has taken off in the storm. And of course, Sarah, Calvin, and Henry are like, we're going to go after him. And so they get their rain jackets on and they go out in the rain. And it actually appears to be raining. I'm sure it wasn't, probably, but I felt like they did a pretty good job. Yeah.
Maybe they got lucky.
Maybe they did.
Electrical storm.
We can only hope.
To say.
Yeah. Torrey DeVitto did say that they filmed this scene until like 3 a.m. It was a super late night, and it was their last night of shooting before they went to New York to film the New York scenes, because that was the last part of the movie that they filmed.
Oh, okay.
So they're running through the woods, and then it's getting steep, and Calvin's like, you go, you run through the woods by yourself in the dark. I'll stay here with your son.
We're just slowing you down.
Like a good dad would send his daughter off into the night by herself.
No flashlights, just running through the woods in the dark. It's
you
fine.
go find that cave.
I'm sure there's no bears or anything. It's okay. So Sarah finds Rip at the cave, and Sarah finds Rip and she stops him from leaving. And she says she's confused about why he's trying to leave, and he says, oh, it's Ted. And she's like, screw Ted. He's a jerk. She says different words than that, but it's the gist.
Yeah.
And
I've never heard that in a Hallmark movie.
Screw Ted. He's a jerk. Kiss me now.
And she wants him to stay, and so he decides to stay, but he's very concerned that his backpack has disappeared. Or his knapsack, whatever they call
satchel.
it. His satchel, his bag, his man bag has disappeared. But first he proposes to her before his bag disappears.
I think we should marry.
I loved this part. Would you
Settle for a date?
I really, when he got down on one knee and proposed, I was like, oh no, they're not really. And then she said, we don't have to get married. Let's just go on a date. And I was like, yes, okay.
Yeah.
As it should be.
But she goes, we don't have to get married yet. She already knows, this is a good guy. We're probably going to end up together. Yeah.
If he's going to rip through time and stay here for me, I probably should stick with him.
Yes. Although I might convince him to go by a different name than Rip.
Rip?
For a human.
That's the name of my dog.
I know.
Yeah, it's a dog name.
For a human person.
Or it's Rest in Peace, in which you don't want to.
Yeah. Well, but I did think it was cool that he proposed because it was in line with where he came from.
Yes,
absolutely. You like someone, you court them, you ask them to marry you. It's not like you go out on lots of dates and, date for a long time. It's like you court each other, and if you decide you like each other, okay, then it's a marriage proposal. It's not like, will you be my boyfriend?
Yeah.
Or will you be my girlfriend?
Yeah. Yeah. Will you move in with me? No.
Right. No, absolutely not.
Yeah. So, so then after that, he realizes his knapsack is gone. His I don't know what he called it. Backpack. His personal effects. And then we get a jump in time where we see his father discovering the bag in the cave with a letter inside from Rip explaining what happened and forgiving him for having disappeared and kind of mending their relationship from afar, which I thought was really sweet. I really liked that.
Yeah, that was very sweet.
And his dad looked just like him with the same scraggly beard and scraggly hair.
Much longer, though.
Yes. Yes. So this strained relationship is repaired even from afar, and the movie concludes. And of course, there's a kiss. Of course, there has to be a kiss.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a kiss. So that was a Rip in Time. Not a Rip in Time, just Rip in Time.
Rip in Time.
I might have added an A. I don't know.
But they're talking about him. Rip in time.
True.
I guess.
He's in time.
So.
Yes.
Like step in time.
Step in time. Step in time. Step in time. Never need a reason. Never need a rhyme. Kick your knees up. Step in time. Okay.
That's the one.
Next week, we'll be watching Mary Poppins on the pod.
It's a Hallmark remake.
Ooh, fun. It's a musical.
Oh, would they please? Oh my gosh. Petition to start remaking classics Hallmark style.
Movies.
Starring
the
Jonathan
live action,
Bennett as the chimney sweep.
Beauty and the Beast, brought to you by Hallmark. Can you imagine the Beast costume with their track record with wigs? Oh my gosh.
It would be like the movies we used to rent on VHS from the library.
Yes.
Just like that. I'm sure we saw several Beauty and the Beast, Snow White. There were also
I suppose they have reimagined it.
Yes.
There's like the Farmer and the Belle.
That's true. But the ones we used to watch were bad costumes and also weirdly violent, usually. Like they had an element of violence that Disney movies don't have.
More true to the original fairy tale.
Yeah, the original Rapunzel is horrifying.
It's awful. I had that. I don't know what happened to that book, but I had that children's fairy tales book that I loved. It had the gold edge pages, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And when I read the Rapunzel story, I was like, what is happening?
I can't read this to my children.
She gets her eyes cut out with thorns and
it's the
blind,
prince.
or the prince. Yeah, the prince ends up blind from the thorns, and
he falls into
blood
them
everywhere. It's just, I'm like, what happened to Rapunzel who paints on the ceiling? I don't.
I know.
It was my class at school yesterday. We were learning about Michelangelo and how he painted the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. And so the kids got to tape their watercolor paper to the bottom of the table and then lay on the floor and paint so they could paint upside down. And I was like, can you imagine painting the ceiling every day for 4 years? And one of my kids in the class was like, Mrs. Lenz, we should ask Rapunzel. She knows all about that. Like, you know what? You're right. She does.
Yeah, because I've painted a ceiling just with a roller, just one color, and it is exhausting. Your arm gets so tired. Can you imagine the tiny little details?
God. He had horrible health problems after that too. Not only from like neck and back problems, but from the plaster spilling on him and getting it in his lungs and in his body. Yeah.
Ugh. That's awful.
Anyway, that has nothing to do with this movie at all, but there's your little lesson on Michelangelo.
Well, that is how our podcast goes, guys. You don't just tune in for the Hallmark, you tune in for the random other crap that we're going to talk about.
You get the bonus.
Okay, so I do have a few behind the scenes details because there was a Facebook Live that Niall and Torrey did together that I was able to find. So Niall's favorite sequence in the movie is the one from New York. He loved being in New York, filming in New York. He thought it was really fun. He liked the reactions that his character had to the city. And so that was his favorite part. And then Torrey's favorite was the dance scene where they danced together at the little community event.
When he's like trying to dance like the modern day people. Yes. Oh, that was so funny.
Yeah.
He had some moves.
Like the African anteater dance. Yeah, it was.
It's really good.
Yes. So they don't usually get to see the whole movie before it airs, but she said she went in to do some ADR for that specific scene, and she asked them to play the whole scene for her because she wanted to see how it had turned out. So,
what is ADR?
ADR is when you go in and re-record the sound.
I see. Okay.
I'm not sure what it stands for, but if the sound was off, you go in and re-record it afterwards.
Got it.
So usually you can tell, but I didn't find that I noticed any ADR in that scene. I don't think.
No.
So that's good. I always find that it's when they have their backs to the camera for some reason. You can obviously they would have to re-record it because they're not catching the voice as well. But you can always there's a little adjustment in how it sounds. It doesn't sound real.
Yeah.
So they said the entire filming experience was freezing cold. They filmed it in the winter in BC, and it was freezing. And she said, so every time I'm wearing a short sleeve dress, just know that I was dying inside.
Oh God. Yeah.
How do you keep from just shivering and having that show up on film? I'd be like,
I don't have the self-control to prevent that.
Yeah.
Method acting, I guess.
Yeah, really. And Niall can actually milk a cow. So when he was milking a cow in the movie, he was actually doing that. And he can also actually play a blade of grass. And he was very excited to get to show off that talent in a movie.
Yes, that's so fun. It's not summer unless you've done that at least once.
I've tried. I haven't made it actually happen.
You can't do it?
No. I also can't whistle. So,
okay. You can play a blade of grass. We're gonna work this out.
You have to find the right kind of grass, though. Yeah, we used to call them fairy harps, but it can't have a bend in it. It can't be too skinny. It's got to be just the right kind of grass. So that will be our mission this year.
Skip rocks. I've never successfully on repeat.
Bad at it.
I can't
My
consistently
husband
do
is
it. I'll get lucky.
Rock skipping hero. I don't understand it. He's so good at it, and I can get it maybe twice, and then it won't into the water. It's done.
And it's every 20 times that it actually works. So no.
Usually it just sinks right to the bottom.
So then the last behind the scenes detail is they were, Hallmark sends them a list of questions that they have to answer. So Hallmark wanted to know if they could time travel, when or where would they go? So Niall said he would go to ancient Rome, which brave man he is.
That'd be cool though.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he said he would only go for a day because he wouldn't want to actually stay there.
Right.
It's scary.
And
right?
have a guarantee way back. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Hope you don't get killed in that one day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Show up in your modern day clothes in ancient Rome, someone's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And Torrey said she would go to 3022 in the future. She would want to know what's happening forward.
Oh, interesting.
So,
that sounds even scarier somehow.
Yeah. So that brings me to wondering, what would you guys say? What would you?
I knew you were going to ask that.
To?
See, my mom always told me I was born late because I loved the music of the 50s and 60s. I don't like the repressed women of the 50s, you know? So I don't know. That's a tricky one. Would I want to go in the future though, either? I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe just go back and live I was going to say, maybe just go back and relive a really good day from my own memory and just do it again because it's so great. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I worry though about that and seeing myself and affecting the time-space continuum.
Right. That's true.
I don't want to,
what if it's altered somehow?
Ruin you don't want to jump the timeline.
Yeah.
But I think I would want to go back to like the early 1900s, like When Calls the Heart time or Downton Abbey time. I just think it's so romantic and I'd probably get there and be like, this is not what it was like in the TV shows.
No.
But that would be just the fashion and the slower pace of life without all the technology. I think that would be kind of magical. But yes, like you said, for a short time and then come home. I wouldn't want to stay somewhere else.
Well, and I would have some specifications. I would like to be Mary Crawley. So,
can I choose my status? I don't want to work in the kitchen. I want to be served.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's would be my specification.
Yes.
I feel like the 20s are so like compelling. I know they're also very difficult time period for a lot of people. But I guess if I lived at Downton Abbey, maybe it would be less difficult. So that would be my choice if I could choose.
Yeah.
If I could choose that. Or
if you could be very specific.
Yeah. Or if I could like go back, I think it would be very interesting to like solve an unsolved mystery, like a disappearance. To be able to be like a fly on the wall and see like what happened. There's that one case of the girl who got out of her car after an accident and walked off and was never seen again. That's so interesting to me. I would love to be able to like give her family closure on what happened to her.
I know what happened.
Yeah. So anyways.
Maybe I could go all the way back to the Garden of Eden and convince Eve not to eat the apple.
There you go. Although there's a theory that Adam's the one that actually ate the apple, and that's why forevermore the men have the Adam's apple.
Apple. Well, he did, but Eve ate it first, right?
Yeah.
So she gets the punishment of the horrible pains during childbirth, and he gets the Adam's apple.
Yeah, wow. They really have to suffer, those men.
I don't think that's biblical, but...
Okay, so you guys want to play a game?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so this game is called Rip or Romance. So I'm going to read a line of dialogue, and you need to guess if it's Rip, it's from Rip in Time, Romance, it's from another time travel romance movie, or Ridiculous, it's from nothing, and I made it up.
Rip, Romance, or Ridiculous. I like
Did you make this up?
No, ChatGPT made this up.
Oh, that's cool. Let's hope they're accurate.
AI is good for something, ladies.
I did the dialogue, but I had it come up with the game.
Okay.
And bonus, if you think it's a romance, if you know what movie it's from. then
Oh, there's
I'm
a
not-
chance for extra credits.
yeah,
Ooh.
I'm not going
I feel
to
like
give
I
you
should
anything.
have a buzzer
for it,
in
but-
front of me so I can
I
ring
do
in.
too. I'm nervous.
Okay, well, you can both answer. Then I'll tell you if you're correct or not. Okay, number one.
Oh, okay.
I look into your eyes and I see every sunset I've missed and every tomorrow I hope to have.
Romance?
Romance.
Now it's ridiculous. Completely made up.
I almost said that. Go with your first one. Go with your first one.
Sounds like a Hallmark movie. I'm
No.
saying.
Yeah. It does.
Maybe you should write for them.
Can write one single line. You need the cheesy line? I got it. Okay. You're telling me you fell through time and your first instinct was to get a job at a farm?
Rip.
Rip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I don't know why I said that so abrupt. Rip.
Rip.
Wow.
Duh.
Where I come from, love letters are written with ink, not sent through something called text.
Romance.
Romance.
Do you know what romance it is?
Yes. What is it? It's the one with the girl from the 20s. 3 bed, 2 bath, 1 ghost. Is that what it is?
No.
Oh, there's a line like that in that movie.
Oh, is there?
Yes, because she's sending emojis to her ex-boyfriend, and she's like, "That's not how you write a love letter," and she helps her write a love letter.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. What's it
Oh,
from?
I don't know then.
It's from the night before Christmas.
The Night. That's my favorite
I know.
TV movie ever, and I got that wrong. Shame on me.
Okay, number 4. You are the only thing in this world that makes sense, and I don't even belong in this world.
Rip.
Ridiculous.
Rip.
I'm ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
How
Okay.
ridiculous.
If
How
love
rude.
if love can transcend time, then maybe time was just waiting for us to find each other.
Ridiculous?
Romance.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous romance.
I feel
It's
like I'm
ridiculous.
saying a spell from Harry Potter. Ridiculous. Okay, last one. I may not know this world, but I know one thing. I was meant to find you.
Romance.
Rip?
Romance. And this one I did not make up because I didn't know this movie. It's from Somewhere in Time, a classic time travel romance with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour.
Christopher Reeve. Yeah.
Hmm.
So now I kind of want to watch that.
That's a good
What is it
movie.
called?
Somewhere in
Somewhere
Time.
in Time.
You've seen it, Mom?
Mm-hmm. Years ago.
Is
It's very
that-
good.
Is that the
Superman.
one that you had picked? There was a movie that you had picked at one point that we never actually reviewed, where they pass love letters through the desk. No,
Mm-mm.
that must be.
No.
I think that's called The Love Letter or something like that.
Oh, yeah, because we didn't do time travel movies. So we didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good though. Did you guys ever actually watch
I never
it?
watched it.
You should
I
watch
don't
it.
think-
It's
Okay.
I don't think I watched
really
that one.
good. I think it was another Hall of Fame movie.
I think so, yeah.
It's very, very good.
Alrighty, we've come to the time of the show where we need to rate the movie. And today we're going to use pennies, which were introduced in the very first scene of the movie when they were trying to keep
Mhm.
slugs away from their plants. And apparently something in the pennies keeps slugs away. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're a gardener, I would love to know if that's actually true. I don't know if it's true or not.
I'll have to try that.
I'm
this year.
pretty
We
sure
have
it is.
Tons of
I
pennies.
feel like we did a science experiment to that effect at some point.
Okay. So,
Sorry,
or,
slugs.
copper wire, something. Just don't tell people that you have a bunch of copper in your garden because they'll come and steal it.
Yeah.
So we're going to rate the movie with pennies. Who would like to go first?
Okay. I'll go.
Okay.
I really enjoyed this one. I did feel like the very end was wrapped up kind of abruptly. as far as, I mean, with the satchel and the dad, I like the way they wrap that up. But then they just kind of show Rip and Calvin and Henry and Sarah all outside. And then I was waiting for something else to happen, and then it just ended. So I felt like that was a little bit abrupt. I would have loved to see Sarah confront Ted at some point and just tell him what an idiot he was. Not that it was necessary, but I do love it when someone puts someone else in their place. Maybe show a little glimpse of the future, and then maybe even leave us with a cliffhanger, like Henry's kind of sniffing around the cave, and maybe he's going to travel, kind of like The Way Home. So that would have been kind of a cool little cliffhanger. But all that said, I still really enjoyed it. I love their interaction. I love the little comedic touches throughout the movie. I like how he stayed in character. Like you said, how the cadence of his speech stayed the same throughout. So I'm going to give it 4 pennies.
Awesome.
Okay. I agree. I really enjoyed this movie. It was a fun one to watch. It was one that I turned on in the background while I was folding laundry, and I felt myself stopping and just like holding a towel watching the movie, and then I'd be like, oh, I gotta fold this. So it really captured my attention. I thought that the chemistry between Sarah and Rip was really excellent. Torrey DeVitto's just excellent. I just would really love to see her in more Hallmark movies. I think she's such a gem. But the two of them together, it was really fun. All the little moments of comedy throughout. I mean, he just Niall Mater really, really honed in on his role and did a great job of making it funny and making him likable and making the story believable somehow. And I like how they took an old story and turned it into something newer and more relevant to today. And I just thought that was really fun. So I really enjoyed it. I am also going to give this one 4 pennies.
Okay. I agree. I think it was great. I would love to see Niall Mater and Torrey DeVitto do a holiday movie together. I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
They had
Rippin' Christmas.
Yeah. Rippin'.
Rip roaring Christmas.
Rootin', tootin', rippin' Christmas.
Yeah. I was also thinking it might be kind of fun if his dad came to when they are at and did something with that. So this is a movie that I think we could see a sequel to. I don't know that they actually would do one, but I think it could support a sequel. Yeah, I liked that they actually filmed in New York, which is very different from normal. Usually it's Toronto that they dress up like New York. And
True.
And I liked that, like you guys said, Niall's performance was spot on. Just everything was great. The cadence was great. His reactions to things, the way his like timing on his jokes were great. And her, the way that she played off of him was wonderful as well. So, and I love the dad, the guy who plays her dad. Just, he's great. He's in a lot of Hallmark movies.
He's always such a good dad.
Yeah. Yeah. He's awesome. And the little boy, Henry, his name is Jacob Black, which funny, right?
Is he a werewolf?
So this was his first work ever. He's never worked in the business. Yeah.
Oh, he did great.
Yeah. And he has nothing. His IMDb is empty. There's not even a photo. But Niall Mater was saying how wonderful he was and that he thought that he could potentially be a huge success in the industry in the future. And his mom, Megan Black, was actually one of the elves in Elf. So there you go. There's a little...
Well, and he's young. So he was born after the Twilight franchise came out. Was that intentional?
His mom a fan?
Maybe. Does he have a brother named Edward? Who knows?
Or Billy?
So I too am going to give this movie a 4 pennies for me. Okay. And I would definitely watch it again. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So, okay. So next week, Danny's going to share all about her trip to the set of One Calls the Heart. We were going to do it 2 weeks ago, but then, life, guys. So we're doing it.
It happens.
Yep. We're doing it next week. And we're super excited to chat about that. Did you have anything to add, Danny?
No.
No?
I'm going to save it all for next week.
Sounds good. Okay.
Okay.
So be sure to follow us on Instagram at Love on the Pod and share your episode thoughts or ideas by emailing us at loveonthepod@gmail.com. Plus, you can text us with future movie recommendations using the link in our show notes. If you loved this episode and you want to hear more, please subscribe to the podcast as we drop new episodes weekly.
So whether you're repelling slugs with pennies
Or milking cows the old-fashioned way.
We hope you don't like Ted. Have a great week.
We
and
don't.
we will see you soon. No, we don't. Okay.
No.
Thanks, Ted. But no thanks. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.